Camping is one of the most hated playstyles in multiplayer games, yet the hatred says more about the critics than the campers. Players who complain about camping usually repeat the same routes, timings, and behaviors every match. When predictable movement meets a stationary defender, the result feels unfair only to the attacker. Camping punishes habits, not skill, and that distinction makes many players uncomfortable. Predictability is the real weakness in competitive games, and camping is designed to exploit it. Studies from esports analytics firms claim over 60% of player deaths happen in common choke points. Campers simply recognize these high-traffic areas and position themselves accordingly. Calling this strategy lazy ignores the data-driven logic behind it. Most players follow invisible rails laid down by level designers without realizing it. They sprint from spawn to objective, using the shortest and safest route every time. Campers observe these rails and wait where the rails intersect. That is not passive play, it is environmental awareness. Fast movement is often mistaken for intelligence in shooter games. Running constantly creates the illusion of activity while hiding poor decision-making. Campers slow the game down and force opponents to think before acting. Players who cannot adapt label this slowdown as toxic instead of strategic. Camping also exposes how little players use utility like grenades, drones, or sound cues. A stationary enemy is statistically easier to counter than a mobile one. Yet many players refuse to adjust their loadout or approach. They prefer complaining to learning. Predictable players rely on muscle memory instead of situational awareness. Camping breaks muscle memory by introducing uncertainty. Uncertainty feels unfair to players who expect the same outcome from the same input. This psychological discomfort fuels most anti-camping rage. Professional players rarely complain about camping during high-level matches. Instead, they assume every corner is dangerous until proven otherwise. This mindset reduces deaths and increases win rates. Casual players skip this step and blame the camper instead. Game developers indirectly support camping through map design. Head glitches, power positions, and sound traps are intentional features. If camping were illegitimate, these elements would not exist. Players ignore this because it contradicts their preferred playstyle. Camping also serves as a natural counter to reckless aggression. Without it, matches devolve into sprinting contests. Strategic diversity requires defensive options. Removing camping would flatten the skill ceiling. Many players secretly know they are predictable, but do not want to admit it. Admitting it would require slowing down and thinking. Camping forces reflection by repeatedly punishing the same mistake. That repetition feels personal, even though it is mechanical. The phrase "no skill camper" is emotionally satisfying but logically empty. Positioning, patience, and timing are core skills in competitive design. Camping emphasizes these skills over raw aim. Players who rely only on aim feel exposed. Predictable players also tend to overvalue movement speed. They equate speed with dominance. Campers demonstrate that control beats speed in many scenarios. This undermines a popular power fantasy. Camping complaints spike after deaths that feel avoidable in hindsight. Players realize they ignored audio cues or corners. Instead of adjusting, they externalize blame. Camping becomes the scapegoat. Games reward adaptability, not comfort. Camping introduces friction into comfortable routines. That friction is essential for mastery. Removing it would reduce long-term engagement. Ironically, many players camp unintentionally without realizing it. Holding angles during reloads or objectives is still camping. The difference is whether the result benefits them. Success reframes the behavior as smart. Camping highlights the gap between reactive and proactive play. Reactive players run until something happens. Proactive players decide where something will happen. Camping belongs to the second category. Predictable players want fair fights on their terms. Camping denies those terms entirely. Unfairness becomes a synonym for unprepared. That semantic shift protects the ego. Camping is not hated because it is ineffective. It is hated because it works against predictable behavior. Adaptable players counter it and move on. Predictable players complain and stay stuck.